Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be my final video covering glass pads in a Roundup format. If there is a pad that comes out in the future that boasts these magical significant changes that will affect my performance, I will definitely be interested in looking at that in the future. But just to kind of explain my rationale here, I have 9 glass pads in this room. I have 5 glass pads in the other room. And if somebody was to ask me to verbalize and conceptualize and explain to them in writing or verbally what the differences are between the pads in terms of performance, it would be an almost impossible feat for me because literally every single pad that I have right now out of those 14 pads, I perform exactly the same. There are minor differences between some of the pads that have come out this year in terms of the stickiness to the skin. Some pads have different chemical treatments. Some pads have different coatings. Some pads are on the extreme of textured. Some pads are on the extreme of very silky, buttery smooth. But at the end of the day, it literally is like just changing my sensitivity on whatever peripheral I'm using, whatever mouse I'm using, and I perform exactly the same after a period of adaptation. I think that being able to conceptually tell you which direction to go to in terms of performance, I think those days are over for glass. I think we've hit a wall in terms of the performance benefits that we've been given or getting on any pad. There are improvements and there are pioneers like Tenta-X who have unquestionably made beneficial changes and additions, edits, revisions to glass pads, like beveled edges, nice rounded edges, the height of the pad, the ability of the image to be more clear, more high def looking on the pad. And those changes are absolutely fantastic. I am not diminishing any company's beneficial changes to glass pads moving into the future. I just think that the most important thing for my channel is being able to point you in one direction in terms of what is going to make you perform better, the same, or worse. That's been my rationale since starting this channel. And out of the 14 or so pads that I have right now, it would be almost innately impossible for me to be able to provide you a answer of which pad out of those 14 you could possibly perform better on. There are pads that are unquestionably a little bit faster than others, but some of the pads that have released in the last 2 years almost feel exactly the same in terms of surface feel. Their backings almost look the same. So unquestionably, some of these glass pads are coming from the same factory. We know that without a doubt. But this collab came out on the original Super Glide with me, Conradi, Nacho Customs, and Pulsar. This is the original Super Glide. Is it a little bit higher than some of the glass pads that have released recently? Yes. Does it have as nice of rounded edges as some of the pads that have released recently? No. But I can absolutely perform on this pad just as well as any pad that has released in the 3 years since this has dropped. So trying to tell you guys which way to go in terms of performance, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like other people that glass pads that have released recently are somehow going to provide you a performance benefit. What I've always said is go for the aesthetic that you like. So with that caveat in place, starting off this video, I do want to say that me saying this and opening this way should not diminish in any way the fact that the 3 pads I'm going to show you in this video are very good. The 14 pads that I've referenced that I have are very good. And that's the problem, is that they're all just very good with small, minute changes. So again, I think the biggest driving factor of your glass pad purchase, as long as a glass pad does not have glaring issues, it's probably best to go for the aesthetic that you're actually going to want to have on your desk for more than a few hours, since you are paying over $100 for some of these pads. So I'm going to start the roundup with 2 new pads I recently received. I'm not sure if either of these are even still available, but just in case you guys are looking at these on the aftermarket, I've got the Kanami Sai II. I have the AvusGear UWI. These 2 pads are both 490 by 420, I believe, and they are basically both the same height as well. The differences here are going to be the fact that the edges on the Uwi are a little bit beveled, whereas they are very straight on the Sai II. The backings are very different as well, with the Sai II having a silicone backing, which is really, really nice. I mean, their backings are absolutely phenomenal from Kanami. I think they're fantastic, and probably one of the best performing backings. And then the backing on the Avus is a rubberized backing here that you can see, kind of just a default type rubber backing on the backside, but also performs fine on my desk and does not move during gameplay. Now, these two pads are absolutely indistinguishable in terms of overall performance. The speed variant here feels almost identical. I would say, if anything, the Uwi feels maybe slightly faster, and I mean by a fraction of a percentage point, than the Sai II. Both of these are the smooth variant of glass pads. You don't really feel any texture on them, but I will say that when you really do want to pick up and move, they are on the faster side of glass with my particular skates, which are Ice V2 dots, right now on my Final Mouse ULX Small. You can see on the glide test, although they are on the faster side, smoother side, they are able to stop quite nicely. So the glass surface here is nice on both of these pads, and I would perform well, and I would perform similarly on these pads. The noise is quite low and reduced on both of these pads with these particular skates. So you've got two pads that are great. They're fantastic. Again, if you loved the designs of these pads, I would say, sure, there's absolutely no issue I see with one of these being your first glass pad. They're smooth, they're on the faster side, they are things that still do have good stopping power, and I think you'd be able to adapt your sensitivity over time to either of these pads. I will say that the Avus, again, does have some improvements over the side with respect to the edges as well as the beveled sides. They are nice in essence. Again, it is a nice improvement to have those, but I do absolutely love the backing on the Sai II. I think it's that silicone backing that we also see on the Super Glide Polarity from 2022. That silicone is one of the best backings on the market for glass pads. One thing I would note as well is if you do have any issues with sticking to pads, you can always pick up a very nice arm sleeve like the one I have on my left. That will solve a lot of your issues, and particularly if it's your wrist making contact, you can always look for something that does extend to your hand as well when you are playing. For me, I don't have a lot of sticky issues. I just don't sweat profusely like maybe others do. But you can keep in mind that if you do have issues with anti-stick, if you're comfortable with a sleeve, you can always pick one up. Now, getting to the Oni's Oath by Tenta-X, this has the same rubber backing as the Uwi, but for whatever reason, my backing does move on my countertop with ease. I don't have any issue as I'm flicking around my mouse in-game with the pad moving, though, so it's kind of a non-issue, but it does move quite easily if you ever push down and start moving it. Now, the edges are nice and rounded, and the pad does seem rather thin, which is always nice. The edges on this pad are not beveled, and that's okay. When I'm whipping my arm around the pad and I'm playing on the pad for long durations of time, I just don't find this comfort issue while moving my forearm around the front of the pad. It's just one of those things that's nice, just not necessary for me. Now, when we talk about the last two pads and the designs, like aesthetically speaking, this kind of talks to me a little bit more. I like the dark blues. I like the figurine a little bit more. I like the moon and the elements in the background, and more of an element here as well. But overall, like if I was interested in really bright reds, I might be somebody who's going for the Sai II. If I want really bright blues and light blues, I might be somebody going for the Uwi. The difference here in terms of surface feel, it is noticeably more textured, and by that I don't mean abrasive or bumpy, but it's noticeably got a different texture to it than the last two pads that are a lot smoother in feel. In terms of overall speed, it really does boil down to your skates. And with more skate innovations, I mean, you can go back to pads from, again, 3 years ago and get a little bit of a different performance feel as well. But with these Tiger Ice V2s, I will say on the ULX, which is a small light mouse, the pad does feel on the faster side, but again, noticeably has a little bit more texture and noise on the skates themselves. To me, I have great performance on this pad on this particular mouse and the skate configuration. Again, on the faster side, no issue with stopping power, just another great performing glass pad that enters a market full of very great mouse pads. Again, if you like the design though, and you like that price point, you like the fact that it comes with a really nice carrying case, the price of entry here for this particular combination is quite nice. So again, not hating on any of these glass pads. They're all just really good. So guys, that is going to be it for this one. I don't know where the glass pad market can go from here or where it's going to go from here, but keep in mind, a lot of these things are very much so similar to other pads that have already released since earlier in time before even 2022. There's a lot of very good pads on the market, even moving back to the polarity with some of the skate improvements that we've had over the number of years. Even the older glass pads just feel very good. And that glass pad performance is something that just carries over from pad to pad to pad, despite there being maybe a little subtle difference in general feel and so on and so forth. But the overall performance is just too similar for me to really go in and cut up and mock up and try to explain the different flavors of ketchup or the different flavors of vanilla. They're the same flavor, although different ice cream shops might make them taste ever so slightly different. That's really what it's boiling down to, and I just don't think it's really worth that time investment. I am, however, happy if someone is going to really make a pad that is going to transcend the market or really upset the market with some very significant improvements. I am always happy to do a single solitary review if there is such a pad in the future. But for now, guys, this is going to be the final video for glass. Hopefully, I'll cross my fingers, we get something that will make me do that single solitary review. I hope it helped, guys. If it did, please leave a sub to the channel. See you guys in the next video. Peace.